My life feels like it's been one long act in a play. Back in second grade, I stumbled into a stroke of dumb luck. I blindly guessed a few big questions on the final exam and somehow ended up ranking dead last in my class. The principal called my name with praise at the flag ceremony. My parents were so thrilled they bought me a gaming console. From then on, I set foot on a path of no return. To keep up this facade of being a top student, I had to tighten my belt and hit the books hard. In the end, I managed to stay in the top 3. Others thought I had some natural-born talent. Only I knew the truth. How late I stayed up each night grinding through homework. That life dragged on until university. I tested into a decent 985 tier school and kept playing the part of a bookworm right when I was buried in writing my thesis, preparing for the grad school entrance exam to climb higher, fully committed to this top student image. My dad called me, his voice trembling with emotion on the other end. Hey, our old house site's been slated for demolition. My head buzzed. That was the ancient house my grandfather left us. A standalone home with its own courtyard, sitting on a sizable plot of land. How much compensation? Based on headcount and land area. Our household registry. Isn't it just you, me, and mom? 3 people, 3 apartments each. That's 9 in total. I gripped the phone, frozen in place. Outside the dorm window, my roommates were scrambling over a job paying $8,000, fighting tooth and nail for it. While it seemed no longer needed to try on graduation day. I donned my bachelor's gown, but my mind wasn't on a bright future. It was on the 9 property deeds about to land in my hands. The day I got the compensation money and keys, the first thing I did was invite my entire class to the city's priciest KTV lounge. Under the dim lights, the clinking of glasses and endless flattery rang out. "Yuan, you're holding out on us. Keeping it under wraps, huh? Exactly. They thought you were just a nerd who only studied. Who knew you were a secret tycoon?" I lounged on the sofa, left hand cradling a fruit platter, right hand raising a glass of Hennessy, smiling lazily. Just got lucky. I looked at their face, envy mixed with jealousy, yet still forcing themselves to fawn over me. A thrill I'd never felt before surged within. It felt better than topping the class. From that day on, I started deliberately crafting my nouveau-ish persona. I rented the most luxurious apartment in the city center, bought a flashy Porsche Panamera. On Facebook, no more library check-ins or drab thesis drafts. Instead, it was all designer brands, Michelin-star restaurants, and global travel pins. I reveled in every young master fang they called me, relished the likes from those who once ignored me, now eagerly messaging young master fang, free for dinner tonight. I even grew a little addicted to this perverse thrill. Like when I was a kid, I'd stay up late studying my guts out, just for the praise of top student. Now, I could burn through cash for that young master fang title. Once an image is built, it's hard to let it go. Whether it's top student or nouveau rich, to me it's all the same. It's all just acting, just switching to a more thrilling script. At the 3rd class reunion after graduation, held at the city's most exclusive private dining restaurant, in an ornate private room, a massive crystal chandelier felt slightly out of place. Much like me, 3 rounds of drinks in, the conversation inevitably turned to me. Class President Tom Wee raised his glass, his face flushed red, tongue already slurring. "Yuan, look at us here, kids running around already. Why don't you have someone steady by your side?" His words landed, and every eye at the table locked onto me, probing gazes, curious with a hint of unmasked malice. I swirled the red wine in my glass, the deep crimson liquid leaving streaks on the rim. My heart thudded. Here it comes. I'd been busy jet-setting around the world. Where was the time for serious dating? Seeing me silent, Leo Dao across the table smirked with intent. Had always tried to pick fights with me in school. Now a manager at some small company, he liked me even less. Young Master Fang's standards to high. Not bothering with ordinary folks, huh? He dragged out his words in a mocking tone. Or maybe you've never even dated. The air at the table turned awkward. My knuckles whitened around the fine wine glass. Admit I'm single. then this image of a free spending, playboy young Master Fang, wouldn't it become a laughingstock? A young man with money and time. How could he not have women? That doesn't add up. My mind raced. A thin layer of sweat coated my back. Looking at Liu Tao's face, waiting for my humiliation, I suddenly laughed. I set the glass down, leaning back lazily into the plush chair. Girlfriend, I gave a dismissive chuckle, with a touch of arrogance and disdain. Too much hassle. Having to coddle them, I glanced at Liu Dao, speaking slowly, voice low, but loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. The number of canaries I keep outnumbers the girlfriends you've had in your life. The words dropped, and the room fell dead silent. Everyone was stunned by what I'd said. Liu Tao's face flashed red then white, like he'd been slapped in public. A few seconds later, class president Tom Wei reacted first, slapping his thigh with a loud laugh, breaking the awkwardness. Brilliant, Yuan. You're living the high life. Exactly. Young Master Fang is the real winner. The flattery and fawning resumed, louder than before. I raised my glass, hiding the stiffness at the corner of my mouth, downing the wine in one gulp. The burning liquid slid down my throat, suppressing the storm raging inside. Damn it, I just spouted another massive boast. After that reunion, I couldn't sleep for 3 days. My mind was filled with Liu Tao's crumpled, sour face, and my reckless canaries I keep line. Once you've bragged like that, how do you cover it up? It became a mountain pressing on my chest. I scratched my head in frustration, driving my new Porsche aimlessly through the city. Rush hour traffic clogged like thick porridge. Neon lights streaked across the car windows, making my eyes blur. I parked haphazardly by the roadside, lit a cigarette wanting to find a bar for a drink. As I stepped out, an argument from afar caught my ear. Right outside a luxury boutique, a young woman was in a heated tug-of-war with a middle-aged man who could have been her father. Normally, I'd have no interest in this kind of gossip. I was about to walk away, but my eyes were drawn to her profile. How to describe it? Her face was beautiful, almost unreal. Streetlights cast a soft glow over her, coating her silky hair in a thin layer of gold. Her skin pale as cold jade, nose straight like a small pea, lips full with a natural red, a beauty that could topple empires. That's the gist of it. Like a fool possessed, I stopped in my tracks, leaning against the car door, watching with interest. Sierra Yuan, stop making a scene, all right. Take this money and consider it my compensation. The middle-aged man shoved a bank card into her hand, his tone full of exasperation and unease. The young woman jerked her hand away. The card traced an arc through the air, landing on the ground with a crisp clack. Compensation. She let out a cold laugh, her voice clear but laced with frost. Director Lee, what do you take me for? Done with me and now trying to buy me off? You little, how can you talk like that? The man embarrassed raised his voice. Didn't you agree to this willingly? I listened, secretly amused. Well, isn't this a classic scene? A rich guy dumping his mistress right on the spot. Looking at her tailored dress, though I couldn't name the brand, the fabric was top-notch, accentuating her slim waist and long legs. An air of elegance. Wasn't this a ready-made canary, and a premium one at that? A crazy idea exploded in my mind like a bolt of lightning. I looked at her stubborn, aggrieved face, at the middle-aged man itching to retreat. My heart started pounding uncontrollably. What the hell, fate was handing me a gift. I stubbed out the cigarette, adjusted my four-figure shirt, took a deep breath, and strode over. I stopped in front of them. First, I shot the middle-aged man a haughty glance. Then, my eyes landed on that heart-stoppingly beautiful face, mimicking the swagger of rich heirs in movies. I flashed a slight arrogant smile. What's the fight about? My sudden appearance stunned them both. The young woman frowned, not looking at me, her eyes wary. The middle-aged man's face soured. Who are you? None of your business. I ignored him. I still locked on the woman. I pulled my car keys from my pocket, twirling them around my finger. He doesn't want you anymore. I asked bluntly, cutting deep. How much a month? He'll pay double. The air froze instantly. The middle-aged man's jaw dropped. Probably never seen anyone this brazen. The woman's expression shifted. Her beautiful eyes flickered with shock, followed by a blaze of anger. My heart sank. Oh no. Did I go too far? Just as I was about to backpedal with some soothing words, she suddenly smiled. Not a happy smile. Her lips curved up, but her eyes were ice cold, piercing through everything. She sized me up from head to toe, her gaze lingering on the Porsche keys in my hand for about 2 seconds. Then, in front of the middle-aged man, she took a step closer to me. Her red lips parted slightly, her voice soft, but it hit me like a stone stirring 1,000 waves. "All right," she said with a half-smile, staring at me, the glint in her eyes unreadable. "How do I contact you, my new benefactor?" I looked at her. The flicker of panic from going too far was instantly snuffed out, replaced by exhilaration. I pulled my phone from my suit pocket, unlocked it, opened the dial pad, and handed it to her. "Victor Fang," I said, lowering my eyes, giving my name. The face of the man called directorly turned the color of pig liver. He pointed at us. "You people," but couldn't spit out another word. Sierra didn't glance at him. She took my phone. Her slender fingers slowly tapped a string of numbers on the screen, then called her own number. Her phone lit up in her bag. After finishing, she handed the phone back. Her eyes flicked to the lonely bank card on the ground. A mocking smile curled her lips. Directly, her voice was soft, but every word crystal clear. "Keep your compensation money for some health supplements." With that, she strutted past him in her high heels, standing by my car, as if the Porsche was hers all along. In the days that followed, I got the full experience of being a benefactor. I gave her a no-limit secondary card, took her to the clubs I frequented, watching her hold court like a queen, making those gold-digging socialites orbit her. Her gaze was sharp. Every outfit she chose, every handbag seemed tailored for her, perfectly accentuating her aura. But she was strange. She never asked me for anything, never flattered me. Most of the time, she just sat across from me in silence, staring at me with those clear, fathomless eyes, as if she could see through every layer of my disguise. She was too professional. So professional she didn't seem like a kept mistress at all. Saturday was the university class reunion, a gathering I'd rather die than attend. For one reason alone, Snowlin, my ex-girlfriend, would be there, with her current boyfriend Henry Jong, whose family I heard owned several companies. Snow dumped me because I was too poor, said I couldn't give her the life she wanted. I'd been holding my breath, waiting for the day I could swagger back in front of her. Now the time had come. I called Sierra. "There's a gathering tonight. Be my plusin." The other end was silent for 2 seconds. Then a single word, "Fine." At 7 p.m. I picked her up. When she stepped out of her apartment building, I was leaning against the car smoking, and nearly dropped the cigarette. A long black silk dress, clinging to her alluring perfect figure, revealing her pale slender neck and delicate collarbone, her long hair loosely pinned up, a light flawless layer of makeup, red lips beckoning. She wasn't just beautiful, she was lethal. At the hotel banquet hall, the reunion was loud and crowded, everyone toasting each other. When I walked in with Sierra on my arm, the entire hall seemed to hit a mute button. I felt countless eyes locking onto us like spotlights, shock, envy, and every expression in between. I glimpsed Snow Lin and Henry Jong in the corner. Their smiles froze like wax figures. Henry raised his glass, smirking faintly as he approached. "Victor Fang, not bad. Haven't seen you in years. You've upgraded your arsenal." This beauty is I was about to speak, but Sierra moved first. She leaned gently into me, her soft hand reaching out, adjusting my already flawless tie. "Darling," her voice soft but syrupy sweet, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Who's this friend of yours? Why not introduce me?" "Darling." Those 3 words detonated like a bomb in the crowd. Henry's face turned green. I savored his expression, wrapping my arm tightly around Sierra's waist, feeling like I'd won. My whole damn life, pride swelling. I led Sierra to the balcony for some air. The night breeze tousled a few strands of her hair. The city's neon lights stretched out behind her, a dazzling sea of light. Thanks for today. I handed her a glass of champagne, in an unbeatable mood. You performed well. She took the glass but didn't drink, just gently swirled it, watching the golden liquid inside. Then she looked up at me, the streetlights reflected in her eyes. Those beautiful eyes held no gratitude, no compliance, not even the weariness of playing a role. There was a fleeting hint of something. My heart thumped. The high from winning a round vanished without a trace. A vague sense of wrongness, like a faint current running down my spine. I suddenly felt, in this transaction where I thought I held the reins, I might not be the one in control. After that night, Sierra moved into the apartment I'd prepared for her. I laid the keycard, and a Nolamed black card, in front of her, acting the part of a proper benefactor. Live comfortably, spend freely. I expected her to be ecstatic, or at least for her eyes to light up. But she calmly took the keycard and pushed the black card back to me. I won't need it. She looked at me, her eyes still so clear. If you think this is part of the deal, you can transfer the money directly. I was stunned. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. This play I'd scripted for myself had derailed from the start. And so, we began our so-called cohabitation. The script I'd imagined was wild nights of singing and dancing, decadent indulgence. I thought she'd be like Snow Lynn, clinging to me, demanding bags, cars, jewelry. But Sierra was nothing like that. She kept a rigid schedule, up at 6:30 every morning, rolling out a yoga mat in the living room, practicing for an hour. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, outlining her soft yet vibrant figure. Like a painting, she never squandered the card I gave her. I checked the statements monthly. Besides daily essentials and basics, her biggest expense was buying me seasonal dress shirts and a pot for brewing health tonics. One night I came home drunk, stumbling in at 3 a.m. As I entered, a warm floor lamp glowed in the living room. Sierra, in cotton pajamas, rose from the sofa, a book still in her hand. She didn't scold or complain, just came over to steady me. The faint scent of her body wash lingered around me. I made you some hangover soup. She helped me to the sofa, bringing over a warm bowl. I watched her pale, delicate fingers hold the spoon, feeding me gently, one spoonful at a time, as if handling something rare and precious. The chaos in my stomach settled, but a bigger storm brewed in my heart. Riding the buzz, I grabbed her hand. Sierra, what are you after with me? She set the bowl down, pulled a tissue, carefully wiping a trace of soup from my lips. Victor, she looked up. The lamplight shattered into starlight in her eyes. You're not clear-headed right now. Let's talk about this later. 3 years passed like that. I thought I'd coast on money, living idly. But maybe it was the sting from that reunion, or maybe Sierra's presence lit a fire in me not to lose. I used the money to negotiate projects, secure investments, turning my boasts from back then into reality one by one. I upgraded to a bigger house, a luxury riverside villa for real, the deed bearing both my name and hers. We grew more like a real couple. She remembered my birthday, quietly packed my luggage before business trips. I'd pick up her favorite cream puffs on the way home. Cream puffs? And meticulously planned surprises for anniversaries. Surprises would curl up on the sofa watching old movies, go grocery shopping on weekend mornings, arguing endlessly about what to eat for dinner. Everything felt like a dream I didn't want to wake from. Sometimes I thought, if things could just stay like this, how perfect. The call about the failed funding round came on a stormy afternoon. I stood by the 180-degree riverside window, watching raindrops pelt the glass, blurring into streams, obscuring the city. The phone against my ear was ice-cold, the investor's voice polite but distant, each word a small hammer, smashing my last shred of luck. Hanging up, I didn't move, like a carved statue. Sierra's voice came from behind, laced with concern. What's wrong? You look awful. She brought over a steaming coffee mug, a goofy cat printed on its white surface. Her pick. I turned, forcing a smile, and said, it's fine, it's fine. Just a small project hiccup. She didn't press further, just handed me the coffee, warmth spreading from my palm. Don't overwork. Health comes first. She wore a cream-colored loungewear set, hair loosely tied up, face bare of makeup, pure as a carefree college student. These past few days, I locked myself in the study, checking the company's books and my personal assets over and over. The cold numbers on the screen formed a dense net with no escape. The corporation's deficit was a bottomless pit, swallowing cash daily. I'd overreached to expand too fast. Now the capital chain snapped like a building with its spine yanked out, ready to collapse any moment. I clicked into my personal account, staring at the only sizable sum left, the remaining compensation from my family's old house. My final trump card, the last bit of confidence behind my boast back then. But quick calculations showed the monthly mortgage on this riverside villa, maintenance for 4 sports cars, and Sierra's card expenses. I opened her statement. This month, besides daily purchases, she'd signed me up for a pricey personal training course to adjust my chronic neck pain from long work hours. I closed the website. Cold sweat coated my back. My whole body chilled. Not enough, nowhere near enough. This money was a drop in the bucket for the company's whole. Sustaining our current lifestyle wouldn't last half a year. From paradise to hell in a heartbeat. That evening, Sierra excitedly showed me her tablet. Victor, look how about skiing in Switzerland next month. I checked the guides. The views at this resort are stunning. On the screen, snow-capped mountains gleamed under sunlight. Ethereal, unreal. Like my life these past 3 years. My throat went dry. Unable to speak. She finally noticed something off. Set the tablet down. Tentatively touched my forehead. Are you really okay? You've been so quiet lately. Her fingertips were cool, carrying that familiar comforting scent. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I grabbed her hand, burying my face in her palm, like a drowning man clutching the last piece of driftwood. Sierra, my voice hoarse. What if I'm not the man you think I am? What if I lose all my money? Lose everything? Become a penniless nobody? What would you do? The living room was dead quiet. Only the faint whistle of wind outside. I didn't dare look into her eyes, afraid to see that familiar gentle sparkle turn into the contempt and disappointment I feared most. After a long pause, I heard her soft sigh. Then her other hand gently stroked my hair bit by bit. Victor, her voice was soft, but crystal clear. It's okay. If you become a penniless nobody, it'll take care of you. I snapped my head up. She looked at me. No shock in her eyes. No contempt, just a calm depth I couldn't fathom. No matter what. That thought sprouted in the night. As ordinary as could be. Sierra nestled in my arms fast asleep. Her breathing steady. Long lashes casting small shadows under her eyes. Her body still carried that faint body wash scent, like a soft feather, always stirring the deepest strings in my heart. But I lay awake all night. Outside the window, the city's grandest river view, neon lights blazing through the night, reflecting on the water like a spilled palette. This was everything I'd ever wanted. Now it felt like a giant cage, trapping me, unable to move. I looked down at her sleeping face, pale and unguarded. Her complete trust in me felt more suffocating than any accusation. I loved her enough to give my life for her, but everything I'd given her was built on lies. As dawn approached, I made my decision. Better a short, sharp pain than a long one. I'd rather end it myself than wait for the day my lies were exposed and see her disappointed gaze. I carefully pulled my arm free, trying not to wake her. Barefoot, I went to the study. The cold wooden floor cleared my head a bit. I took a fountain pen from the expensive pen case. How ironic! This stationery set was her birthday gift to me. She said it matched my current status. The pen touched the paper, but I couldn't write a single word. 1,000 things I wanted to say turned into a few cold lies. Sierra, this letter is my goodbye. The company has a new opportunity abroad. I've thought it over and decided to go. It's rushed. No time for a proper farewell. The house and card are yours. These past 3 years. Thank you, Victor. I left the letter on the hallway cabinet, next to the car keys. and the black card she barely used. One last look at this house. On the living room sofa, her blanket from last night's movie still lay draped. In the kitchen, the slow cooker probably still held the warm breakfast she'd prepared. Everything was filled with traces of her life. I opened the door. The cold morning air rushed in. I didn't look back, afraid that one glance would stop me from leaving. The moment the door closed, I thought I heard my heart shatter. I leaned against the cold door, imagining her face when she woke and saw the letter. Would she cry, be stunned, or think I was just a jerk who got bored and ran? Whatever it was better than her knowing the truth. I buried my face in my hands, crouching in agony. But what I didn't know was, behind that door, the woman I thought was still asleep was slowly opening her eyes. Morning light slipped through the gap in the curtains, illuminating specks of dust in the room. She silently listened to my fading footsteps, then sat up, picked up the letter I left on the nightstand. She read it. No trace of the sadness I'd imagined on her face. Instead, a cryptic smile curled her lips. She crumpled the letter, tossing it casually into the trash. Her voice soft, almost a murmur, but carrying unshakable certainty. Trying to run not that easy. 2 years later, I gripped a fine wine glass, the deep red liquid inside, swaying with my wrist, reflecting mesmerizing light under the chandelier. In the time since I left Sierra, I threw myself into my career like a madman, using the compensation money as my stake. I dove headfirst into the tech startup wave, meetings day and night, networking fighting tooth and nail. With my team, I succeeded. I became the promising young CEO Fang. In others' words, my company just closed a spectacular funding round. Tonight's business gala was a celebration for new elites like us. Glamorous attire, toasts all around. I moved confidently through the crowd. Tycoons I once only saw in finance magazines were now laughing and chatting. Everything here mirrored the riverside view I'd seen 3 years ago when I left that house. Dazzling prosperity, drenched in the scent of success. I thought I'd grown used to it, until I saw her at the far end of the banquet hall, by the floor-to-ceiling window, a figure in a long black velvet dress. Her silhouette too familiar, so familiar my heart clenched, and I forgot to breathe. She turned, raising her glass to a prominent business figure beside her, revealing a refined, radiant profile. It was Sierra, thinner now, her jawline sharper, shedding the softness of 3 years ago, exuding an unapproachable strength, surrounded by key figures, all wearing respectful, eager expressions. She only smiled faintly, handling them with ease. Was she no longer the girl who'd cook me soup or curl up in my arms for a movie? My mind went blank. The wine glass nearly slipped from my hand. Instinctively, I wanted to hide, to blend into the crowd, but my feet felt nailed to the floor, unable to move. At that moment, her gaze cut through the crowd, landing precisely on me. Our eyes met. No shock as I'd expected. No resentment. Not even a ripple. Her eyes were calm as a deep pool, brushing over me indifferently, like I was an insignificant stranger. Then she raised her glass toward me, a fleeting smile on her lips. She stepped out from the crowd, her heels clicking on the polished marble floor, each step pounding into my heart. The noise around me seemed to stop. All I could hear was my heartbeat, growing louder. She stopped in front of me. A strange perfume coldly invaded my senses, replacing the faint body wash scent in my memory. CEO Fang, she spoke first, her voice clear, with a measured distance. Long time no see. My throat was parched. I barely managed one word. You. What, don't recognize me? She sized me up, her gaze lingering on my company's name tag. Starseed Tech Victor, not bad. You've done well these years. Her tone, like praising a decent subordinate. My face burned. All my calm and pretense crumbled before her. I stammered, why are you here? Why can't I be? She gave a mocking laugh. That smile carried a ridicule I couldn't grasp. You think I've just been crying these years? I opened my mouth, but no words came. She stepped closer, her voice low, only for us to hear. The house you left me, I sold it. The card I didn't touch. But startups always need capital. My heart sank. She saw my stunned expression and seemed pleased, her lips curving more. Forget to introduce myself. Sierra, a new partner at Prosperity Capital. Prosperity Capital, the nation's top investment firm. Also the host of tonight's gala and the investor. My company most wanted for the next funding round. I felt like lightning struck me, my body rigid. She looked at me, each word deliberate. The investment you're negotiating, in the final signature. My mind exploded with a buzz. The woman I thought I'd left behind, who I thought needed my money to compensate her, had silently risen to a height I had to look up to, and with a flick of her hand, held my throat in her grip. She stepped back, regaining her graceful poise, raising her glass to me. So CEO Fang, she smiled, radiant but dangerous. Shall we find a place to talk properly about your overseas opportunity? Her words sounded light, but hit me like a boulder, stirring 1,000 waves. I stood frozen, watching her turn, like a graceful black swan, merging back into her dazzling crowd. After she left, the air around me seemed to flow again. The chatter, the clinking of glasses, the soft music, all flooded back into my ears. But I couldn't hear clearly. My mind stuck on her final words. Shall we find a place to talk properly about your overseas opportunity? That was the excuse I defabricated when I left her. A grandiose lie I'd even convinced myself was true. Who was that woman talking to Victor? Such a commanding presence. You don't know her. That's Sierra from Prosperity Capital, the new partner, the hottest figure in the scene right now. Sierra, that name sounds familiar. Wait, I remember. Isn't she Director Lee's daughter from the Lee Group? The only daughter of Chairman Lee. They say Chairman Lee's health is failing. Now the entire Lee Group is propped up by this heiress behind the scenes. Prosperity Capital is just her training ground. The Lee Group, Sierra. My brain felt like gears jamming, grinding with a creak, struggling to turn. An image buried deep in my memory surged back. Our first meeting. That man, who I thought was her benefactor, yelling at her in frustration for being useless. I thought it was a dramatic breakup over money. And in the future, I thought she'd been abandoned by a rich man, which was why I acted so impulsively. Now looking back, that wasn't a benefactor. That was clearly her father. It wasn't abandonment. It was a heated family dispute over inheritance. My idea of keeping her, my self-righteous rescue, and my later attempts at atonement, in her eyes, were probably just one big cosmic joke. The house I left her, she sold, said it was for startup capital. The bank card I left, she didn't touch. Of course the heiress of the Lee Group wouldn't care for my pitiful compensation. A rush of blood hit my head, then turned ice cold. I was the clown all along. I thought I'd abandoned her, chasing a brighter future. In reality, I'd stumbled out of her world, while she simply returned to her rightful place. A place I had to crane my neck to see. A place I wasn't even worthy to look at. The wine glass in my hand shattered with a crash. Splinters and red wine splattered across the floor, staining the hem of my pants. Everyone around stared in shock. I don't know how long I stood there, my legs numb. The cocktail party's heaters were on to high, but my hands and feet were freezing. Even my fingertips trembled. Just as I was about to find a corner to hide, to process this upheaval of my reality, Sierra suddenly parted the crowd, walking straight toward me. She'd changed out of her formal gown, now in a striking red spaghetti-strap dress, her pale skin glowing like snow, the hem swaying with her steps, like a flame burning, igniting the stubborn freezing stone that was me, burning toward me. I instinctively wanted to back away, to flee, but her eyes were like nails, pinning me in place. She stopped before me, that familiar mocking smile on her face, her eyes slightly upturned, like a fox who'd caught her prey. She leaned in close, her perfume pleasant but invasive, mixed with a hint of alcohol. CEO Fang, she said softly, but with an undeniable dominance. You're not running this time. She paused, her red lips curving into a dangerous arc. The debts from these years. Time to settle, don't you think? My heart skipped a beat. Before I could process the depth of her words, she grabbed my wrist, her hand cold, her skin smooth, but her grip astonishingly strong. I didn't even have time to resist. She pulled me to face the entire room of guests, raising our hands proudly, like displaying a trophy. The room fell silent instantly. Every eye locked onto us. I felt their gaze probing, curious, shocked, like countless tiny needles pricking my face. Burning! I fumbled, unsure where to put my hands, wanting to crawl into a crack in the floor. Sierra seemed to revel in this spotlight. She cleared her throat, her clear voice ringing through the banquet hall. Let me introduce. Her smile deepened, her gaze at me holding 7 parts mockery and 3 parts complexity I couldn't decipher. This is my fiancé Victor Fang. The words fiancé hit like a thunderbolt, exploding in my head. My whole body froze, held stiffly by her grip, like a puppet dragged onto a stage. I opened my mouth to protest, to say what the hell are you joking? But my throat felt stuffed with cotton. Not a word came out. I could only watch helplessly as she, in this domineering way, slapped a label on me I'd never dared dream of, cutting off all my escape routes. The banquet hall's noise felt sealed behind invisible glass, buzzing but distant, unclear. I stood like an idiot, her hand raised with mine, displayed before the crowd, my mind blank. The only thing I could feel was the cool, delicate touch of her wrist and her unyielding grip. Sierra seemed delighted by my stiffness. She smiled, exchanged pleasantries with the guests, then pulled me like dragging a trophy forcefully through the crowd, her heels clicking sharply on the floor, each step hammering my pride. She dragged me to the balcony outside the hall. The night breeze cleared my foggy mind a bit. I yanked her hand off with a force that startled even me. Sierra, are you insane? I lowered my voice, hoarse with anger. Fiancé, do you know what you're saying? She wasn't angry, just rubbed the wrist I'd shaken off, leaning casually against the white marble railing. Beyond the balcony, the city lights dazzled, light and shadow playing across her too beautiful face. She pulled a slim women's cigarette from her clutch, lit it, took a drag, the red ember glowing between her lips. I know exactly what I'm saying. She exhaled a thin stream of smoke, dispersed by the night breeze. Victor, am informing you. Informing me, I laughed in fury. On what grounds are you informing me? 2 years ago we ended. 2 years ago she cut me off, as if hearing the universe's greatest joke. The mockery in her eyes unhidden. You think leaving that card and some nonsense words settled everything? She stepped forward, her heels making her nearly eye level with me. That familiar perfume, mixed with alcohol, enveloped me again. I'm telling you, Victor, ending or not ending, has always been my call. Her dominance ignited a nameless fire in me and stirred what little pride I had left. Don't push it, Sierra. I'll go back in and clear this up. It was just a misunderstanding. I turned to leave. Go ahead, she said lightly, her tone carrying a hint of implication. But I suggest you think carefully. That little company of yours, isn't it bidding on the South City Tech Zone project? My steps halted instantly. Cold sweat broke out on my back. The South City Tech Zone project was a gamble I'd staked everything on. Me fortune, my life. Success would rocket my company to the top. Failure would leave me drowning in debt, retreating to my hometown. How did she know? Seeing my pale face, she smirked, satisfied. Forget to mention, she flicked the ash, her gesture graceful but ruthless. The project's general overseer, representing Prosperity Group, is me. You think if they knew my future husband doesn't even respect me, what would they think? Prosperity Group. I was struck dumb, frozen. That was the commercial empire Chairman Lee built single-handedly, a place I'd once desperately tried to reach, but couldn't even touch the threshold. I looked at her familiar face, now so alien it was terrifying. She was no longer the girl in my memory who'd sulk at me or blush at my words. She was a net, a dense web spun long ago for me, and I was the fool who'd walked right into it, oblivious. What do you want? My voice was dry, trembling with a fear even I could hear, and helplessness escape, or explanations bore her absolute power. All of my struggles were a joke. She stepped out the cigarette, walked up to me, her cold fingers gently brushing my cheek. The touch held a trace of comfort, but her eyes looked at me like a toy lost and found. Nothing. Her voice softened suddenly, carrying a hint of grievance. Like 3 years ago when we were together. I just missed you. These 2 years I thought of you every day. When you'd come back to me. She paused, her eyes slightly red, but the smile on her lips grew more dangerous. But you didn't. So I had to come find you. Victor, she leaned close to my ear. Her warm breath mixed with tobacco and wine slipped into my ear like a venomous curse or a deep, heavy whisper. This time you're not getting away. Our debts will settle them one by one. Her final words pinned me in place, unable to move. The night breeze hit me. It was summer, but I felt like I'd fallen into an ice cellar. She stared at me, her eyes gleaming with a sick satisfaction, as if she'd spent 2 years weaving this trap, just to see me pathetic and helpless like this. Get in the car, she tossed out, turning toward the Maserati parked by the road. That car I recognized. 3 years ago for her birthday, I maxed out my credit card just to buy a model of it. Now she drove the real thing. While I barely seemed worthy to stand beside her, I didn't move. My pitiful pride screamed, telling me not to follow. The car window rolled down, revealing her impassive face. Fan, don't make me say it a third time. Or, you want the entire South City project team to come out and see how we chat. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. In the end, I opened the passenger door and got in. The real leather seats exuded the scent of money, mixed with her perfume, making me slightly dizzy. The car glided into the night. The silence inside was suffocating. I watched the neon lights flash by outside, feeling like a kidnapped hostage. Future uncertain. What am I to you? I finally broke the silence. Voice hoarse. Something you can summon and dismiss at will. If not, then what? She replied, eyes fixed on the road, a mocking smile flickering. When you left 2 years ago, didn't you treat me like something you could discard at will? I didn't. You just thought someone like me was too expensive. You weren't worthy. Her sharp words pierced through all my pretense. My heart felt stabbed. Yes, I thought that. Back then when we were in love, I faced too much pressure. She was the Lee family's princess, a daughter of heaven, while I was just a poor kid from the countryside. I fought desperately to climb up, to be worthy of her, but reality kept knocking me back down. In my cheap suit, accompanying her to high-end cocktail parties, I saw the disdain in their eyes. I felt like a clown, so I ran. I thought if I became strong enough, rich enough, I could return to her with pride, but I didn't expect she wouldn't give me that chance. Or rather, she did, but I didn't take it. The car stopped in the basement of a riverside apartment, a place I'd once dreamed of living. She led me to the elevator, pressed the button for the top floor. In the elevator, the polished mirrors reflected us. One in a crisp suit but weary-faced, one radiant but cold, like two people from different worlds. As the doors opened, a familiar homey scent hit me. The decor wasn't the cold luxury I'd imagined, but warm and cozy. On the living room sofa lay a tacky Pikachu pillow, we'd bought together. I froze. She suddenly kicked off her heels, walking barefoot on the soft carpet, instantly losing some of her edge. She went to the bar, poured herself a glass of red wine, and offered me one. You thought I threw out everything tied to you. I didn't take the glass, just stared at the pillow. She swirled her wine, the deep red liquid like blood. Victor, I saw through your little schemes. From the very start. She walked up to me, forcing the glass into my hand. Actually, from the moment I went with you, I investigated everything about you. My mind went blank. The struggles I thought I'd hidden perfectly, my pathetic state in her eyes, was a transparent, laughable farce. You knew everything. Of course I did. Her eyes reddened, her voice trembling faintly. I knew it all. I knew you were fragile, prideful, your self-esteem higher than the sky. I played along, gave you a way out, just waiting for you to tell me yourself, to say you were struggling. You couldn't hold on anymore. You needed me. She took a deep breath, as if suppressing all her grievances. But you didn't. You chose the stupidest path. Stupid! You thought playing CEO Fang would make me value you more. She gave a scornful laugh, sadness and mockery mixed in her eyes. Victor, you really let me down. My heart felt squeezed by an invisible hand. Pain so intense I couldn't breathe. So that's how it was. She understood everything. She wasn't punishing me. She was using the most extreme, ruthless way to force me to shed the heavy, laughable mask I'd worn for 3 years. I thought I was chasing her, but she'd been standing still, even bending down, waiting for me to admit my own weakness. I looked at her, the girl who'd pout at me, blush at my words, and the powerful woman before me, who could decide my fate with ease, merged into one. She hadn't changed, I had. Crashed. The wine glass slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor, the red liquid splashing like a broken heart. I couldn't hold on anymore. The armor called pride crumbled under her gaze. I stepped forward, pulling her into my arms with such force. I wanted to melt her into my bones. I'm sorry, my voice choked, carrying 3 years of suppressed emotions. Sierra, I'm sorry. I love you. I finally let go of that ridiculous burden and faced the deepest feelings in my heart. The woman in my arms stiffened then. I felt my shirt dampened by warm liquid. She said nothing, just reached out, hugging me back tightly, so tightly. After that night, between me and Sierra, a wordless understanding formed. We didn't talk about the past or plan the future, like two lost puzzle pieces, finally finding each other, fitting perfectly. Until today, the rectangular conference table like a deep lake, separating me and her at opposite ends. On the table, two proposals for the century partnership. One mine, one hers. The room filled with elders and top executives from both groups, including Chairman Lee, ever imposing. The air thick with the bitter scent of coffee and the coldness of money. Everyone in crisp suits, faces stern. Only I knew this so-called business negotiation was just a play, a performance for all to see. Chairman Lee cleared his throat, his 10 fingers clasped on the table, his eagle-like eyes fixed on me. CEO Fang, we've seen your sincerity. Now I just want your final confirmation. All eyes turned to me, like countless needles pricking my skin. I didn't look at the cold numbers or terms. My gaze crossed the dark table, straight to Sierra. Today she wore a sharp white suit, hair pinned high, exposing her clean neck and sharp jawline. She caught my look. Her eyes wavered, a faint smile curving her lips, encouraging me. That smile gave me the courage to bet everything. I stood. The room's chatter stopped abruptly. I didn't walk to Chairman Lee at the head, but around the long table, step by step to Sierra. Under everyone's stunned gazes, I dropped to one knee. From my pocket, I pulled a velvet box, opened it, revealing not a rare diamond, but a simple platinum ring. I lied to you about chasing big money. I was just a coward, afraid you'd see my desperation, afraid I couldn't give you the life you wanted. Even more, afraid I'd be a stain on your perfect. Sierra's eyes reddened instantly. She bit her lip, trying not to let tears fall. I looked up, meeting her teary gaze. Every word, pouring out 3 years of suppressed feelings. These 2 years, I climbed desperately. Not for some commercial empire, not for the title of CEO Fang. I just wanted one day to stand proudly before you, to tell you I took a deep breath, my voice trembling uncontrollably, to tell you, Sierra, I love you. Then now and forever only you. I'm here today, not to negotiate some multi-billion deal. I'm here to propose. I offer everything I have as my dowry, my company, my future. This life of mine, all yours. Will you marry me? The room fell deathly silent. The sharp, decisive tycoons now gaped like spectators in a romance movie. Tears finally spilled from Sierra's eyes, dropping hot onto my hand holding the ring. She didn't answer right away, but turned to Chairman Lee, her father. His stunned expression softened into a complex but relieved look. He looked at me, then at his daughter, and slowly nodded with his approval. Sierra took a deep breath, a radiant, tearful smile breaking across her face. "I do," she laughed. "Put it on, Victor. You idiot." My hands shook, sliding the ring onto her ring finger. A perfect fit. As I stood, she threw herself into my arms with such force, like she wanted to fuse into me. Someone started clapping, then thunderous applause. This high-stakes business meeting, tied to the future of two empires, ended with a proposal: the alliance of two commercial giants, sealed by a small ring. The first morning after our wedding, I woke in the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting dappled light on the glass countertop. The air filled with the rich aroma of coffee beans and the slightly burnt smell of toast. I was clumsily flipping a new style of fried eggs, the result of a night spent watching tutorials. A warm body pressed against my back, arms wrapping around my waist. Sierra's chin rested on my shoulder, her lazy nasal voice greeting me. "Morning, CEO Fang." I turned off the stove plating the eggs, leaning to kiss her cheek lightly. "Now's family time, no work talk," she giggled, grabbing a finance magazine from the sofa. I was on the cover. The headline: "The Cold Empire of a Business Titan." It was a photo from before the proposal. In it, I wore a sharp suit, eyes piercing, expression icy. Sierra poked the photo. Who was it back then? Storming into our company's boardroom with this grim face, nearly giving my dad a heart attack. I untied my apron, pulling her into my arms from behind, my chin resting on her head, all to snatch you up faster. She turned, looking up at me, her eyes sparkling with playful mischief. I still remember someone boasting he'd keep me as his canary. That topic she'd been teasing me about for a week. I looked at her, her reflection in my eyes. A man in loungewear, smelling faintly of cooking oil. Utterly ordinary. This feeling was far more solid than signing a multi-billion contract. I leaned down, kissing her chattering lips, silencing her words. After a long moment, I let her go, foreheads touching, my voice low and earnest. "Darling, our old house is up for demolition, my love. I'm your canary." I looked into her eyes, smiling. "This life and the next will cling to you. Chairman Lee, you're responsible for keeping me." Sierra froze for a moment, then burst into clear laughter, laughing until tears welled up. She stood on tiptoe, kissing me fiercely. "Fine." Her voice carried through our lips, sweet but commanding. "Keep you, I will. You're not escaping." The sunlight outside cast a golden glow on her hair. I held her, my heart calmer than ever. Commercial Empire's CEO Fang. I'm just her Victor, nothing more.